Nancy said no response. Thank you very much. So we're going to jump back in here and move us. So the main message is that this is the same that classrooms and schools want too. We want a positive environment that's preventative and predictable and effective. Now I'm going to tell you about the predictable piece. Kids do best. I think we all do best. Kids do best when they have a predictable environment. I want you to think about, there's always some really tragic stories we hear about in the news or sometimes in our everyday lives. We hear about the lives of kids who come home to very unpredictable and horrible situations at times. Am I going to have food tonight? Is mom and dad going to be there or not? I mean, there's some really sad stories out there. And so that really are kind of like the epitome of something that's not predictable. So classrooms, when I walk into my third grade classroom, I should be able to predict that my teacher's going to be there, that she's going to greet me at the door, she's happy to see me, I put my backpack away in the same place, I go to my same desk, I have a TV. A predictable environment is really the best. And so the more predictable you can be, and warm and welcoming for your kids, the happier they're going to be, the more they're going to be compliant for you and all the rest. And I'm not sure that is the case on your bus, but just imagine a student who gets on a bus that, maybe it's their first time and they've transferred to another district or something, and they're going, whoa, what is this going to be, So it's important that you really set that tone. Be predictable, and you always try to prevent behavior. So if it also gives us with PBIS, it's a safer place to be, healthier, more caring, and then we're able to teach. Therefore, kids can learn. So that's why we do the front loading of teaching them what we expect. I'd rather spend the first full 2 weeks of school teaching kids procedures, routines. Here's how we travel to the library. Here's how we transition between math and reading without having a big hullabaloo in the classroom. And we practice and practice that until we get really good at that. Because until we are, we're not going to be able to learn. Because I won't be able to get your attention, and we won't be able to get anything done. So, and I know you have like the most crazy way that you have to do that so fast. But that's why the more front-loading and teaching and reteaching that you can do to get to that point, the better. And yes, you're going to have your outliers. You're going to have those kids that are your projects. There are 5 kids on the bus or whatever that you're going to have to work more specifically with on reteaching those pieces to get them to there and say, listen, I try to provide a really predictable place so you can have a safe, comfortable, and happy ride on the bus. Here's what I need from you. So you can't ask that unless you've built some trust and a little bit of a relationship with the kid. And you can ask some pretty good stuff if you do that. So, and it gives you a continuum, a way to kind of like provide a continuum of behavior support for students. Now this particularly comes from schools. So within the school, there's a way to go from the student who needs hardly just the basic reteaching and all that kind of stuff, all the way up to the student who really has lots of difficulty learning and processing and all the rest. So it's really important too that you continue the conversation with your school principal, because sometimes I hear things from bus drivers like, a sad story like they get a new student and they know this student has issues and they just push them on my bus at the end of the day. I don't know about it. We don't want those stories. So it's really important that, and I'm sure Judy's worked with the school and that if students who have, it might be new students or students who have issues, you should be included into really how to best work with that student, because some students that really have some boundary issues and all the rest. So hopefully that connection's happening. If it's not, you need to be talking with your schools.
I've tried that before, but some of the schools, maybe all of them, they have a privacy issue.
Yeah,
They
it
can't
is
say.
true.
Yeah.
It is really true, but they can. It's called right to privacy. It's a federal law. And so you can't say, what are the issues? Well, they can't say he has mental health issues, but they can tell you some strategies that work best with that kid. That's what they can do. They can say, this student really does well when you gives one direction, and the next is showing how to do it. I don't know. But ask for a strategy. If you're having struggling with the student, you need to let the school know, or talk to Judy about the process for that. And they will let you know. I mean, they're responsive. They can say, well, you know, this student, a strategy that doesn't work well is this. The one that does work well is this. You can't do that. Okay? Moving on. And then it gets to the achievement. So this. So Judy, can we get you to help pass this one out? I mean, just have one copy. Okay, we're going to do a bus route activity because you're talking, and just to kind of focus on, like we were talking about a little earlier, what's going on. So I want you to rate 3 bus runs. So identify 3 recent bus route experiences you've had. For each bus run, like there's 1, 2, and 3. I want you to write down the grade level once you get this and or group. And I want you to rate it from 1 to 5. Okay, and so the quality rating. So my kindergarten run in the morning, I'll rate that. And I'd say it's a 5. And I want you to tell me why, if it falls into the 4 or 5 category, why is it, what makes it a 4 or 5 category? If you rated your middle school, it was a 2. Why was it a 2 route? I mean, activity. Why was it a 2 run? And so put some factors down, like it was overcrowded, it was whatever it was. So I want you to rate that. We're going to have you do some sharing out, and we're just going to call on people to share. So I do want you to fill it out. So this is the sheet we're filling out right here. Does everybody have something right? Pretty well lined up? Okay. So I'm going to call on a couple people, and each one of the people come in we haven't heard from a little bit. So let's see. Right there? Yeah. Tell us your first run, with the group, the rating, and then the factors.
First run is Walden High School, and they're always a 4 or 5, and that's because they are just as engaging. I say good morning, they'll say good morning, or thank you. Everyone says thank you, goodbye. We, have a good weekend, you too. And in the morning they're asleep, but that's the afternoon. But every one of them is respectful. So I would say it's almost a 4 or 5. Middle school is always about a 2, and I engage them equally as the high school kids. But there's 2 sisters, and they come from, I hear where they come from in their home life. And they sit in the front by assignment, but they are as bad as any 2 kids I've ever had, and I've tried everything, including principal, sitting with them, before school, just for 4 of us. But they've even said, we deal with this all day long with them at school. They don't care about detentions because they have it every day. The mom we call home, isn't going to do anything. So I really have my hands tied. But, and then the elementary school are always a 4 or 5. Parents are always at the stops, no behavior problems, and also very respectful and stuff. So it's really only the middle school, and I have no idea how to handle those 2 girls. And
so it's just down to the top of the triangle, just a couple of
yeah.
kids. So other than that,
but they'll affect the whole bus because it's like poison in the well. Engage with other kids, and so.
We've got them up front, so you've done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then over here, the gentleman at the not the back row, but the next row on the end. Yes.
I have no complaint on my high school, They're great, quiet, respectful. You don't have to teach them, lots of things, because probably they're more mature.
Okay. So you give them like a 4 or 5?
I give them 4.
Okay. All right. So what's another group you drive?
I drove the middle school center. They got on the bus, they know what I expected,
Okay.
and, they great.
Okay.
And even grade school, I do Templeton, I give them 3 and 4, because first, mostly in the afternoon, they are kind of noisy, waiting to,
Okay.
to load the bus, and by the time we're ready to go, they all sit down, they're having fun.
So the noise level's
The noise,
acceptable.
pretty good, yeah.
All right. Okay, and then over here, let's see, that's the lady. Maybe Sheriff, you.
Me?
Yeah.
Hey, you're a lady. I don't want to behind us. Well, I only do elementary and middle school, and in the mornings, they're both like exceptionally well, they use before.
And what does it look like, what are the factors? I mean, like.
Oh, well, they're all quiet, they're all sit down, you know, they're all quiet when it comes to railroad crossing. The only problem I had was overcrowding in my middle school, but we fixed that, and they gave me a bigger bus. Other than that.
So it's also, middle school is also rated 4 or 5?
4, yeah, my middle and our elementary and are rated 4.
Is anybody want to switch with her?
She has my girl from last year.
I should have not stepped into that.
I stepped on her bus last week when she was on vacation,
Uh-huh.
and she speaks the truth. The middle school were very engaging, very helpful, because I was brand new to the route that day. And so one young man directed me right through the whole thing, and they were all, thank you, and I came back and I said, that's the day we were overcrowded, and so she got a bigger bus that afternoon.
Oh, boy. And then, but you want me to do the whole thing?
My big kids.
Yeah, wait, no, we're going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the back side, these are just some things that, you know, in some ways, it's kind of a duh, you know, but these are some really good things to consider. Like, you know, is that did you begin, I mean, it's kind of like you have to, even if you're having a bad day, a teacher comes to school kind of half sick or not feeling good, you gotta put on that happy face, you gotta do the best you can that day. So it's like, are you doing the positive, sincere greeting to the students? Did you positively acknowledge students who were demonstrating safe, respectful, responsible? Did you correct students privately, quickly, professionally, and respectfully? So it shouldn't sound like it did in 1952, you know, knock it off back then. It really shouldn't, you know, and so even if kids are being the most rude, you don't give back. You give back the best of yourself and to do those pieces. Did you choose one expectation or one thing you expect? Did you choose one to review? And say, I want us to go over this today, we've been a little rocky on this one, and talk to them about that, or praise the whole bus on one? And did you follow up with students needing it? Like if you had trouble with me yesterday, even though you think you kind of worked it out, check in with me and say, how are you doing this morning? Say, I'm doing better. And then overall, was the bus ride safe, respectful, responsible? And make a list of what worked in your bus route, and make a list of any changes that you would make for yourself to go ahead and improve upon. And this is for you. This goes nowhere. This is just to kind of help you focus on the great stuff that you do already, and any little tweaks or changes that you can consider as you move forward with those parts. So, we're going to see if we kind of. So we've done that. And then what are some changes you would make to improve the lower scoring runs? And just be thinking about that. And it's just having the time to talk. And I don't know if like I know because you don't really have the opportunity to get together like this, you're busy driving and doing your jobs. You know, here's just an idea, Judy. I don't know if there's a way to maybe keep a poster someplace where people can put down, here's some positive things I've been doing that's been working on my bus. We could just share those pieces. I mean, because sometimes someone puts a little twist on something that really worked for them, besides the basics that you're also sharing today. That'd be nice. So, moving on here. So there's 5 kind of big principles for PBIS, whether it's in a school, on a bus, anywhere in the school, and they really kind of start out with these. Is that you have very clear expectations, whether, like I said, it's on the playground, it's in the cafeteria, it's in the classroom. And then you teach those experiences. And as I said, that's why my grandson, you teach them what you want to do, not what you don't want them to do. Because there'll be a laundry list from here to the end of time about what you shouldn't do. And then also, when you have to be, when I help schools and bus drivers put together their list of expectations, you just put down the basic things that would really, the most important things that you expect. I mean, we're not putting down, wouldn't it be nice if they also said thank you every other second? Or bowed and curtsied when they got on the bus, that would be wonderful. That'd be nice, but we would come up with a very long list for that. So just the basic, most important things, and you guys have that in your bus expectations. And then when teachers teach these, you give examples of what it should look like and demonstrate, show that, and then you talk about the non-examples. Here's what it should look like, and here's what it should not look like. Just simply, to make sure there's real clarity around that. And then reinforcing the expectations means we acknowledge them by telling them exactly what we noticed that they were doing. We taught them what to do, and when we see it, you need to be all over noticing it. So, and that's what we talked about for like the bus bucks. So, and you need to be specific about that. We'll get there real quickly. But the next time we're together, we're really focusing on that a lot. So you want to minimize attention for the minor inappropriate behaviors. Make such a big deal about it, do it privately and move that along. Avoid power struggles. And some kids are just masterful at that. I kind of look at it, and I'll probably repeat this in a couple of weeks. But it's kind of like fishing. They just cast it out there and don't take the book. Because some of them are really good about casting that out to see if they can point it if they're good at that. So, and then have clear consequences for some of the unacceptable behavior that are like reasonable, like, well, change of seats, you're welcome to do this if you can't do that. So that's clear. So this is what you came up with. Now, again, people who were here 3 years ago, you built this, raise your hand. You built this with your principals. Now, I won't work with school districts who the principals aren't going to be involved in building these systems, because you own it together. And if you just built it on your own and tossed it to the principals going to say, whoa, what's this about? If the principals just tossed it to you and said, just do it, it's not, you don't own it. But you own this together, you built it. So it has, you have this, and I don't know if there's, Judy, are they still inside the bus? Okay, but so you can use this.
We can get replacements. I'll check with Dan, see what buses that don't have them, and we'll get replacements.
Yeah, because they end up being kind of great teaching tool, like, like, what's the rule about? Oh, here's the rule right here. The rule is da-da-da-da-da. So it's a teaching tool. So these have been built. There they are, right there. So it's very specific, and that's done. And the teachers have the lessons to go with that, and you guys even have the access to the lessons too. So like for, I think you've already done evacuation.
Process.
Okay, the
We
process.
use the whole of the month.
That's, you do your bus evacuation. I would be super smart about throwing some of this in there, saying, and safe, respect, responsible, you know what that looks like. So if this would happen, this is what evacuation we do. But every day, we do these other things. So the expectations sound like in Tigard schools, be safe, respectful, responsible. In all the schools, I think there's one, I think it was my school, be safe, be kind, be responsible. I think Templeton and Durham both have that. Same difference. So teach them, and then don't assume, this is the part I said earlier, don't assume kids know. And it's sad that we can't, but you just can't assume kids know. So you need to teach them. And everybody's ensuring that that's being taught, and they're teaching at the beginning of the school year, and typically they teach right after the big holiday break, and either prior to spring break or right after. I like it prior to spring break, because I'd rather prevent that awful week we have before spring break. Let's go back, we'll go section, okay, right here. So, and then the teams, the schools each have a PBIS team, and they're looking at the data, behavior data, monthly, including the bus behavior. And so if they're seeing something that's kind of popping up, like in the playground, whatever, they'll go back and reteach that particular area. Or if there's a really big crisis coming up that they see on the buses, they'll say, here's what we're seeing in the data. So it's based on what the data's telling them to. So reinforcing expectations. If I'm being reinforced, that means you are noticing my behavior. And the word I do use is that if you're noticing effort. You're not noticing that I've got a cute backpack on and all the rest. It doesn't mean you can't say, hey, cool backpack today. But you don't get somebody a bus buck for that. You're giving the kids bus bucks for effort. Not over the top and beyond and, above and beyond kind of effort, everyday effort. For a kid who really struggles with something, you need to be noticing it, and that's the effort that they've made. So statements can sound like this. These were generalizations that don't help teach the rules. So I should flip this slide because I'm telling you what not to do, and that's not good. But these statements are too general. Good job. And the kids, if you give a bus bike to a kid and say good job, they walk away going, what does that mean? I don't even know. You're awesome. What does that mean? Wow, super. They just aren't that effective. They kind of really discount it. So clearly state what you noticed a student doing. I noticed you walked up the steps today. Thank you. And particularly for someone who takes 2 steps at a time, whatever, that's a good one to notice. I saw you helping the new student find her bus stop. Thank you. And just saying, when you request anything of a student, if you get in the habit of saying thank you and you really mean it, it goes a long way. Thank you for picking up the trash. It was very responsible. Thank you for supporting John today when he was upset. Your quiet voice today really helped me concentrate today while I was driving. Thanks. What if you told that to the whole bus? Even if it was for between one stop and the next, and that was the best part of the day. Tell them that. So, and then minimize attention for minor behaviors. Avoid those power struggles. And stay calm when those are starting to happen. Be specific about what you need them to do. Use a neutral, not upset tone. Be aware of our body language that sends all kinds of signals to kids or another adult. Avoid the power struggle. So helpful words that will kind of encourage and reinforce is that, and this is my favorite, I grew up a couple years ago, rather than the kindergarten language like, I'm really happy to see that you're all with your hand in your lap, and it doesn't have to sound like a nursery school or something. And it makes me happy, and it's not about making me happy, it's just about me noticing that you're doing what we asked you to do. So I noticed, I saw, and can I help you? So I noticed, it's just all a fact. And I saw an effort happen. I saw you do this. And can I help you? So if a kid's having an argument or getting on the bus, they can say, can I help? Are you okay? That shows empathy, and you kind of call them out at the same time. Like, I'm paying attention here. I know something's going on. So can I help you? Are you okay? It shows caring and that you're involved. Well, she's blah, 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 okay. So how can you guys work this out? I want you to step out to the, until everybody gets on the bus, so you guys can work it out for a few seconds and then get on. I'll have a seat for you when you get up. I'll let them work it out. So stay out of the power struggle. And so when kids start to argue, these are my magic words I come up with. So when she starts to argue with me, I say, regardless, nevertheless, and even so. My mom doesn't make me do that. I can't believe you'll do that. Well, even so, I still need you to take your seat. Nevertheless, I still need you to be ready to bus.
Works with spouses too.
I'm going to tell Brandon you got that. It's just a great non-argument thing. It's a great non-argument thing. And so, especially when I think sometimes we kind of get rattled, and sometimes we get upset. Because we can't believe this kid really said that, or he really did this. So you just kind of take a deep breath and go, even so, I still need you to, get on the bus quietly. And so they continue to argue. You're not going to be in the argument. Even so, nevertheless, and they won't like that. So have clear consequences for unacceptable behavior. And I'll tell you a couple things, we'll get into this later too, in a couple of weeks, but it's really around the being clear for having kids understand that there are choices here. The consequence should be used as a learning opportunity, and it's everyone likes, is there anyone here who doesn't like, in your life, that you don't want some control? Is there anybody who doesn't like to make choices for yourself? Human beings are like that, and kids are the same way. We need to give our kids some control and choice. So sometimes when kids are struggling with something, so you might, like in a class, you might say, she's struggling, working in math where she's at, and I can say she's talking to other folks and all the rest. I'll say, you know what? You're welcome to stay in your same seat if you can talk quietly with your partner. Or I have another seat for you. I'll give you a minute to think about it. Doing, it's on the bus, and then I'd say, she's quiet, and say, thank you. Looks like you made a good choice. So she got quieted down. And if she didn't, then the other choice is, I've got another seat for you. But put it back as a choice that they're making. So give kids a choice when they realize what the other choice is. Sometimes they might say, I would like that other seat because she's very crazy. So that might be good. So catching kids showing good behavior improves behavior by 80%. So when you notice and tell them that you see they're doing something right and they're on target, we don't have to give them, gold bullion, we don't have to give them stuff, but we do have to let them know. And the bus buck is a reminder, it's a kind of an evidence that we did that. You can say it and you can give the bus buck. We're going to talk a lot about the bus bucks next time. Yes, they can be misused. But it's not, and I'll tell you just a little preview of that. It's what you say is the golden nugget. It's not the piece of paper. I shouldn't have to win a car with the bus buck. We'll talk more about that next time. But it's what you say specifically. So we have a quick little bus movie, and then a couple slides, we're out of here. Okay? This is something, a couple last things here. This is from Brian Gano, a child psychologist and teacher from the Teacher and Child. I use this with everyone, teachers included. I've come to the following conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom.
I have a hard time hearing you, please.
Okay, yeah, to read along. It's my personal approach that creates the climate. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, bus driver, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, or a child humanized or dehumanized. 2 questions I have for you to think about. What will you do tomorrow that will be noticed by your students as making their time with you even better? And what was your key learning today that can help you to deal more positively with your students? And some of it might just be hearing some of from your other colleagues and what's working for them. And then I want you to give these a try and repeat these back next time. I want you to begin the route with a positive, sincere greeting. I'm sure you're doing that already, but just double check. Get to know all of their names if you don't. I bet you know them all. It's powerful when you do. Positively acknowledge students who are demonstrating what you wanted them to be doing. Correct the students privately, quickly, professionally, and respectfully. And then I just want you to have a great year, and sorry we're just a couple minutes over. But we'll see you next week. Is that right?
Yes, on the 16th.
On the 16th. She's got a plan for the 16th. So I'll see you next week. Thank you, Kate.
That's